Yo, what is up, guys? It's Cohen back here again today with another video. And today I'm going to take a look at some Bradley Beal trade packages. A couple hours ago, I tweeted out asking for you guys to drop me some, as you can see on the screen up here. So I'm just going to go through some of them, tell you what I think about some, tell you where I think the best destinations are for Bradley Beal. Now, he hasn't requested a trade or anything yet, but it seems more and more likely, I think, by the day that he could be moved by the deadline. I know he has reiterated that he wants to stay in Washington. I know that the front office has reportedly said that they want to keep him in Washington. So this is not at all saying that I think he's going to get traded, but it's definitely something that people have been talking about a lot. So I wanted to make a video talking about some of these trade packages and kind of giving my thoughts on the whole situation, since I haven't had a lot of opportunities to do that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, whatever you're feeling, and we'll go ahead and start. A lot of these are not serious, so I'll try and focus on the serious ones, but I'm not going to look at every single offer because obviously there's a lot of them. I think you guys commented upwards of 100 times, so thank you very much. And I'll just go ahead and get into it. So this first one here, talking about the Nuggets, Gary Harris, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., and a 2021 first-round pick for Bradley Beal. Now, this does work money-wise. This is something that I've tinkered with because I feel like the Nuggets are a good spot for Bradley Beal, especially if the Nuggets can keep a Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, Bradley Beal, and Nikola Jokic would be a crazy tandem, or not tandem, I think that means two. Crazy trio. Probably the second best big three in the NBA behind, obviously, Harden, Kyrie, and Durant. Yeah, the issue is here that I don't know if the Wizards accept this. I think that there might be better offers out there. Michael Porter Jr. has a lot of potential, but he also has a lot of injury concerns with back problems. He's missed a lot of time in the past due to injuries, so there is a lot of concern there. Gary Harris is making a good bit of money. He's still kind of young. He's getting up there in age, not necessarily what you'd want to start a rebuild, so I'm not sure if he's super enticing to them. Same with Will Barton, he's up there in age. So Michael Porter Jr. I think is the real centerpiece of this trade, but I think they'd have to throw in more than one first-round pick, especially a first-round pick this season where the Nuggets are really good, especially if they're adding Bradley Beal. I think that they'd probably want future firsts as opposed to a 2021 first. I know this is a stacked draft class and everything, but this pick's going to be really late. This pick's going to be in the 20s. And if you're getting offered Gary Harris, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., and like a pick in the 20s for the leading scorer in the NBA, I don't think that they accept this. I think it might take a couple more picks. Hawks get Bradley Beal. Wizards get Clint Capella, John Collins, Tony Snell. I don't really like this trade for either side, particularly because I think Clint Capella and Clint Capella is more of like a win now player for the Wizards, and I don't think that's what they're trying to do. I mean, unless they decided, okay, we're going to keep Westbrook, we're going to still try and win now. I mean, if that's the case, then Clint Capella and John Collins isn't a bad pickup. John Collins more so is a better pickup because Thomas Bryant right now is kind of considered their center for the future. I know he's going to be coming off a season-ending injury, so that is a concern, but I don't think him and Capella fit well like at all together. You can't play them next to each other. And then Tony Snell's just kind of thrown in for salary purposes. And then the Hawks getting Bradley Beal. This is kind of a steal, in my opinion, for Bradley Beal. But I don't know how much I like Beal on the Hawks. Like, him and Trey would be one of the worst, if not the worst, defensive backcourts in the NBA. You get rid of John Collins, who is a big part of that team. You get rid of Clint Capella, who's been incredible this season. And so, like, where are you left with that? Like, who is now your... Who starts at center for this team now? I don't know. I just don't think that... I don't know if the Hawks would do this. I don't know if the Wizards would do this. I mean, the Hawks, I think, are getting a steal here. I just don't know how much the fit is in terms of losing these two important guys and picking up a very good player in Bradley Beal, but he's not really a position of need as much. So this trade is just kind of weird. I wouldn't see the Hawks trading for Bradley Beal. The Sixers, this is another destination. Oh, why do you hurt me like this? I'm sorry. For the Sixers, Maxey, Matisse, Korkmaz, Green, and Danny Green, and 3 first-round picks plus seconds. I don't think this is a bad trade. If I were the Sixers, I'm not trading Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal just because the team has been so successful, and I think that is part of the relationship that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons have with each other. It's part of the chemistry they've built. I think Ben Simmons is like defensive player of the year caliber defense is huge for that team. So I wouldn't deal Ben Simmons for Bradley Beal, but if you can find a way to make something like this to get Bradley Beal, I think that would be huge for that team. They definitely been missing the defense of Danny Green, but when you have like Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, who's been a pretty solid defender, you can kind of make up for it. Maxey has looked pretty good for them in limited time. He's had some pretty big games for them due to injuries. This person clearly wants Beal to go to the Sixers. So I think that this is a pretty good deal for the Sixers. 3 firsts is a lot of firsts, but Korkmaz is replaceable. I think Isaiah Joe plays that role that Korkmaz plays decently. Matisse is a loss, but it's what you have to do for Bradley Beal. I don't think this is a bad trade for the Sixers. For the Wizards side of things, I like this. Obviously, you try and get Ben Simmons, I think, but if you can get Tyrese Maxey, who's looked really promising, a pretty solid defender, and Matisse Thybulle for a team that has no defense. Um, Danny Green's on his last year of his deal, so his contract will be expiring. You add in 3 firsts and seconds. I don't think this is a bad deal for either side. I think the Wizards definitely try and push to get Ben Simmons, but if they can't, this isn't a bad package. Um, Here's another MPJ, Will Barton, Monte Morris, and 2 firsts. Kind of similar things I said about the other trade. I know Nuggets fans really want to keep Michael Porter Jr., but if you're going to get Bradley Beal, I think that he's who you have to give up. Robinson, a first, none, and Kelly Olynyk, no, that's a robbery for the Heat. Let's see. Lakers. Oh, okay. So the Lakers are a team that's always going to be in these trade rumors just because it's the Lakers. Bradley Beal for KCP, Kuzma, THT, 3 first-round picks. I think the Wizards say no just because that this isn't a terrible return. Kuzma's a decent player. Tim Hardaway, good lord. Talon Horton-Tucker is an interesting prospect, and 3 first-round picks is a lot. But I think the Wizards can get a more established prospect. Talon Horton-Tucker is interesting, but he's not as established as, say, a Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets. Something like that, like a Ben Simmons if they can get that from the Sixers. So I think that this isn't a terrible deal, but KCP, you don't need him for now. Kuzma is kind of eh. I think Talon Horton-Tucker is the most interesting piece in this deal, and then obviously the 3 first-round picks. But I think you can get a similar deal like this with a more established prospect. From the Lakers side of things, I think that they do this if they get offered it. You add Bradley Beal to a lineup of Dennis Schroeder, LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Marc Gasol. That seems incredible. They get even better. So I think that the Lakers would do this. But the Lakers are also missing, I don't even know if the Lakers have 3 first-round picks. There'd have to probably be pick swaps involved due to the Anthony Davis trade with the Pelicans, taking a lot of their first-round picks away. So I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I think it would definitely make the Lakers an unstoppable force. I just don't see it happening. All right, another Heat trade, Kelly Olynyk, Iguodala, 3. I'm guessing that's first-round picks, Hero and Achua. I don't think that this is a bad trade either for the Wizards. I think you get 3 firsts and you get an established prospect, which I think is the main goal of a Bradley Beal trade, to get an established piece for the future. In Tyler Hero, I like Precious Achua too. I think that he has a lot of potential to be a pretty solid player in this league. 3 first-round picks. This isn't bad. The Heat side of things, I don't know if you do this now because the Heat have been struggling so far. I mean, adding Bradley Beal would obviously help with those struggles, but I think first you need to see if Jimmy Butler is going to be healthy this season. You need to see how the other guys continue to progress, and I think you kind of gauge that. This would be a trade I would more likely see at the trade deadline when the Heat have kind of figured out where they're at this season, rather than something that happens kind of near to now. Jamal Murray, Bobo, a couple of firsts. If I'm the Nuggets, I don't want to trade Jamal Murray for Bradley Beal, or I try not to. I mean, giving up Jamal Murray for Bradley Beal isn't a big deal, but with the flashes he's shown in the bubble playoffs, I don't think that they're going to move him. I think Jamal Murray is pretty much untouchable for the Nuggets. Yeah, a lot of trades. All right, here's a trade machine one to the Clippers. I'm guessing it's not going to be a great trade. Oh, it's not bad. Lou Williams, Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann. I failed to pronounce Kabengele. I always fail to pronounce his name. A second-round pick, a 2027 first-rounder, and a 2023 second-rounder. I don't like this for the Wizards. I don't think the Wizards accept this, mainly because Lou Williams is old. And I guess there is some expiring salary, but they don't want to be committed to 4 years of Marcus Morris when they're trying to rebuild. There's just no reason for them to commit to that. Terrence Mann's interesting. He's just not an established prospect. I keep using that word. Same with him. And then 2 seconds and a first. Nah, this just isn't enough. It's not better than any of the other offers that they are going to get from the Magic. Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, 2 firsts. This isn't enough. Evan Fournier is expiring, so they're going to lose him, which isn't a big deal because he's older than you'd want to start a rebuild. Aaron Gordon's a solid piece for a rebuild, but only 2 first-round picks. They can get better. Adrian Evan Fournier for Beal and Weeka. Okay. No, not at all. Another Heat trade. We won't look at any more Heat or Nuggets trades because we've seen a bunch. Wiseman, Oubre, Mannion, and 6 picks and swaps. I think the Warriors could put together an interesting package for Bradley Beal, just mainly because they still have all their picks. I just don't know if they go out and do it because with Curry, like right now, I think you want to try and win, and obviously Bradley Beal helps them win. But I think you kind of wait to see how Clay is next season before making any significant moves, because you don't want to trade for Bradley Beal and then have Clay kind of be a shell of himself, and that, which God, I hope he isn't, because I love watching Clay Thompson play. But Wiseman is a huge part of your future, and you don't want to give him up before you know what your present is going to look like. So I think this could be interesting, but I don't see the Warriors doing it right now. Say heap of Miami fans wouldn't give up here to get prime MJ. Bradley Beal to OKC for Shea and 2 firsts. No, the Wizards don't take this. I don't think 2 firsts. Shea is super established. He's a great pickup, but I don't think they accept only 2 firsts. And I don't want to trade Shea for Bradley Beal, who I doubt wants to be in OKC anyways. That's another thing you have to consider, is where he wants to be. Let's see, Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey, Danny Green, 3. This is kind of the same thing we saw with the Sixers trade. So yeah, I think the Sixers, Heat, Nuggets are like the 3 most interesting places for Bradley Beal. There aren't a lot of other places I could see him getting traded to. Maybe like a Lakers in like a crazy, crazy world, but I don't think that they have the assets. This is probably unrealistic. Yes, this is unrealistic. It's not. I get. Okay, I'll take a look at it. Maybe this will be the last one we'll do. JJ Redick and Bradley Beal to go to the Celtics. Okay, interesting. The Celtics have to give up Robert Williams, Romeo Langford, Grant Williams, and 3 first-round picks, Kemba Walker and Carson Edwards. This is way too much for the Celtics to give up. Giving up Romeo Langford, Robert Williams, Grant Williams, Carson Edwards, Kemba, and then 3 firsts on top of that to get back Bradley Beal and JJ Redick, who's super washed. I don't think that the Celtics do this. That's a lot. Eric Bledsoe and Lonzo Ball go to the Wizards along with all of this. This is a huge pack. Like, I think the Wizards say yes to this just because Lonzo's interesting. Getting 3 first-round picks. You don't really get the established prospect necessarily, but you get a lot of interesting guys who are locked up long-term. You can kind of gauge and see how they play. And then Lonzo is an interesting piece, like I said. I think you could flip Bledsoe. And then the Pelicans get Kemba. I don't think that this... The Pelicans only have to give up Lonzo, Eric Bledsoe, and JJ for Kemba. I don't think that's bad. I mean, it kind of sucks that he's locked up long-term, but I think that this is something that they'd consider. That's kind of a crazy trade, but, it's kind of fun to look at those interesting, crazy trades. Another Hawks trade. I don't see the Hawks. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. She's going crazy for some reason. What about this one? Oh, this is wild. The Raptors get Mo Wagner, Anthony Gill, and Bradley Beal. Sixers get Kyle Lowry, and the Wizards get Terrence Davis, Matt Thomas, Malachi Flynn, Tobias Harris, and a whole bunch of first-round picks. The Wizards definitely say yes to this. To get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first-round picks and a second and a decent player in Tobias Harris that might be flippable. That contract's not very good, so I don't know how flippable it is. Malachi Flynn's been really interesting, so... I mean, this is definitely an interesting package. I don't see the Sixers giving up Tobias Harris, though. He's been phenomenal this season. He's been pretty much an all-star caliber player, so I don't see them giving him up. And I think with that, I think we'll stop there for now. I think we looked at some of the main things. I'll look at Wayne's. Wayne is one of my good friends on Twitter. He kind of knows what he's talking about. Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., RJ Hampton, 2 firsts and a second. I think this is a solid trade for them. I think that they try and push for Jamal Murray. I don't see them getting him. And then Michael Porter Jr. is a pretty good player. RJ Hampton's a really interesting prospect. I liked him a lot in the draft, and I could see the Wizards trying to pursue someone like that. And then 2 firsts and a second. Like, this is still going to be in like the 20s, but this pick is a little more interesting, and Michael Porter Jr. is kind of the main guy here. So this is interesting. I think that they might try and get a later first, just so that way that in case that Nuggets team blows up for some reason, they have their pick in the future instead of having a pick where the Nuggets are going to be really good for these next 2 years. So they might try and get something later. But outside of that, I think that's all for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave me some trade packages in the comments or other players you want me to do this type of video for if you enjoy this type of content. Like I said earlier, drop a like, drop a subscribe, whatever you're feeling, and I'll see you guys later. Real one, say back.